So I have a meeting in downtown Boston the other day, and I actually had a look semi-presentable. And I go in, and there's I'll put out there an attractive woman who's hurrying to get to the elevator. So because I'm not a complete, a-hole, I hold the door. She gets in. She says, thank you. I'm going up 26, 27 floors, and she's like, 1 or 2 floors, past that. Because she, said, oh, can you hit the button? And it's just us in the elevator for 5 or 6 floors. And then finally I turned to her. I'm like, can I, smell your vagina? And she's like, what? No. And I'm like, oh, then that's got to be your feet.
I miss Helen Keller once.
Then that's got to be your feet. Hey, welcome to Carnival Personnel. This is Jacques.
I'm Joe.
And do you ever think you would miss Helen Keller jokes?
No,
Right.
That's a first.
Joe, the world doesn't move to the beat of just one drum.
Well, how many drums? How many fucking drums do we need?
How many drummers do we need?
Good one.
And then there was one.
Yes, like the movie Highlander.
There can be only one.
Todd Bridges is the sole survivor. He wins different strokes.
Yep. And if you saw a picture of him 15 years ago and where he was in his life, if there was a dead celebrity pool going that you were in, how high up would he have been ranked at one point?
Oh, pretty up there. But we're talking, of course, of the passing of Charlotte Rae, who played Mrs. Garrett on Different Strokes and later on Facts of Life. Girls!
Did you know there was 2 Facts of Life spinoffs that she was in? And I remember they went to college.
Yeah.
And the management was like, oh, and then after college, I guess they opened a bakery.
I kind of think I was going to say something. They opened a store.
Yeah, maybe it was a store, but she was in all of those.
Well, that's smart because, you lock onto a character. Like, you're for an actor, and Howard Stern has said this all the time. And, of course, I parrot him. If you're an actor, you latch onto a character that is a hit. Like Carroll O'Connor. He rode Archie Bunker, into the sunset, as far as he could go.
Through Archie's place?
Yep.
And then, was it just Archie?
It could have been. I thought it was, yeah.
It was
I think
All in Family, then Archie's Place. Or was Archie's Place after? Because it was. It was three iterations.
I didn't know there was 3. I thought there were only 2. But I thought it was Archie Bunker's Place and then All in the Family. And then, but he didn't did he appear on 704 Hauser Street?
Nice.
Remember that show?
But Todd Bridges is the last one. And again, it's and it's funny because she died. She was 92. It's so it wasn't, it wasn't a shock that,
she lived a very good life.
And also, you're better with the names, Mr. Drummond.
Conrad Bain.
He also died in his 90s.
Yep. Tragically, we had Gary Coleman who fell down the stairs and had a brain hemorrhage in his house.
But he also, his life expectancy, he ended up living to 45, and whatever kept him that height, I don't remember the name of the disease that he had, he wasn't supposed to make it through his teen years. So the fact that he did live that long was almost a small miracle, one would say.
Oh, you suck. And Dana Plato, she, died with drug overdose. Yeah.
And that's where Todd Bridges was, headed. I mean, he...
Did you know that he was on Everybody Loves Raymond? Everybody Hates Chris?
I did not.
He was. So, yeah, but of course, every comedic black actor in the, in the business in the early 2000s was in Everybody Hates Chris. Or late 2000s, whenever it came out. Good show, by the way. That's a good show. Really good show. I highly recommend if you catch reruns of Everybody Hates Chris. Good for you.
Probably on Netflix or somewhere.
Yeah, Hulu or some shit.
YouTube. So, you and I were just speaking about this. Michael Moore has a new movie coming out. He had Fahrenheit 9/11, and this is 11/9 Fahrenheit.
No, it's Fahrenheit 9/11. Fahrenheit 11/9.
11/9.
Yeah, which is the day after Trump was elected.
Or the day that the world basically started its decline into oblivion.
The day the earth stood still, part 2.
Democracy died. What's your thoughts on the trailer? And overall, you're a Michael Moore guy?
I was way into Michael Moore movies earlier in his career. like Roger and Me, Bowling for Columbine, Fahrenheit 9/11. I saw in the theater. The only Michael Moore movie I think I saw in the theater. I don't think I've seen Bowling for Columbine in the theater. But I didn't see Sicko. I heard that was a good movie. You know, I do like Michael Moore. I appreciate him. I think, and I actually read his article. I was, reading him talk about how Donald Trump is going to be the president of the United States.
He of all the snowflake radio podcast, and things that I read, we're not going to relitigate the case that everybody thought Hillary was going to win. He was the one voice on the left who was very outspoken and didn't get completely panned, but people were calling him an alarmist. He, a year before, was saying, hands down, he is going to win, and he is going to re-win elections, because basically he was the one person saying, everybody between the coast, you're discrediting.
Yeah, and he also pointed out the fact that Hillary wasn't hitting the purple states, like the Michigans and the Ohios and the Pennsylvanias and all that. She was kind of phoning it in or taking it for granted. And I think this was not long before the actual Democratic National Convention that he said that this article came out. So Hillary, I don't even think was the nominee yet. Or maybe so. My memory's kind of fuzzy because, did a lot of self-inflicting wounds since that day. But the movie itself that's coming out, it hits all the trailer hits all the right kind of lefty, liberal, like almost libertarian kind of notes that Michael Moore has in his movies. Yeah, I saw that Alexandra Ocasio is in there. He's playing all the hits. He's getting all the big new names. I think. And
he does. Look, he takes things to an extreme. You know what I was a big fan of? We'll jump back to the new movie. Did you like his NBC show?
The Fox show?
No, was it a Fox show?
TV Nation.
Yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah, it was essentially Roger and Me on a grander scale. I think Janine Garofalo was on there and a couple of other, well-known comedians at the time. Or up and coming,
and it was way ahead of the curve on all the politically correct shows or the political satire shows that followed it and stuff like that.
Right. It was like Daily Show field pieces on parade, like one right after another,
and really well done. So he does. He goes to the extreme. I think he does a lot of great work in Sicko. He was the one who put a lot of these 9/11 first responders on a plane and took them to Cuba to get the treatments that they couldn't get. And I remember it's like, he got in trouble for that, and some of these people did. It's like, are you really going to arrest a guy for saving 9/11 first responders' life because they can't get this treatment? Anyways, so it looks good, but it looks.
And he went to Cuba before we normalized relations with Cuba.
Correct. When an American couldn't go.
Ahead of the curve again.
Right. Thank you. So I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know if I'm going to pay to go to a theater and see it.
This seems like it's going to be in select city. Well, I don't know. Actually, I forget if the trailer said it's going to be in theaters everywhere.
It premieres at the Toronto Film Festival, which is the largest North American film festival. Probably number 2 in the world behind Cannes.
And I think it's coming out September 10th or something like that, or somewhere in the early September. Probably around September 11th. Wouldn't that be great?
It really would. Happy anniversary, John.
I know, seriously.
And always a happy birthday to our friend John, who my buddy John on September 11th, his birthday.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You know who else has September 11th birthday? I think we talked about this. John Ritter's daughter, who John Ritter also died on 9/11. So her
happy birthday.
So her birthday shares the same date as her father's death and about 3,000 other people's.
And who can forget where we were when you had that overdue Blockbuster video and had to pay the late fee because you couldn't get to the store on 9/11?
That wound cuts pretty deep.
That's your 9/11 story.
That was my 9/11 story. Hey, you know what? Everybody has one. What's your 11/9 story? Ooh.
So, you know what? Knock it off, or I'll turn this plane around.
Said no one. No,
Said the judge yesterday. Did you follow that story?
No.
So, as we're recording this, okay, yesterday there was a hearing. And it was one of these, a lawyer took on one of these amnesty cases of people who came to the border legally seeking amnesty and were thrown in one of these detention places. They weren't supposed to be deported before the hearing. And at the hearing, the
judge made a call?
The defendant, the lawyer for this mother and the daughter is like, yeah, they're not here. We can't get a hold of them. They're, the detention center, has a record of them being checked out. And the prosecutor, or at least with the prosecutors, the government was a defendant in this case. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we're just finding this out too, Judge. We think they're on a plane. As soon as it lands, we can get them back. And the judge is like, no, that plane is to be turned around wherever it is right now. And those people are to appear in court first thing this morning. If that plane isn't turned around and those people aren't on U.S. soil, instantly, Jeff Sessions is being held in contempt of court.
Wow. Balls of fucking steel and good.
And they were. And like they had like the people representing this mother and daughter had all the paperwork. They weren't supposed to be thrown out of the country until they get their hearing.
Usually you don't want your people who are going to be on trial to be flight risks.
Right.
This is like the opposite of a flight risk.
So,
like, oh no, they're about to be deported.
But literally, the judge ordered the plane turned around in the air and brought back, and they did it.
Did they finish the in-flight movie?
I don't know. Like seriously, if you just got your drink off the drink cart, now they have to take it back and turn it around. Oh, the travesty! Oh, the humanity! So yeah, I mean, and hopefully, as we found, they're speed rushing through all these federal judges. So over the next umpteen years, it's going to be harder and harder to find judges who have souls and any compassion and empathy. But this one did, and I love the fact that he was blatant about it. If that family is not in my court first thing tomorrow morning, Jeff Sessions, call him out by name, is being held in contempt of court.
And let's not bog down the audience by naming this judge, because that would just be too much.
Too much. There's only so much room.
I know.
I don't have so much character at a time. Joe, we're going to have a brief conversation now that might shock you and might shock anybody who knows me. I've said this 1,000 times. I'm quite sure there are a few GOPers out there who aren't complete pieces of shit in government in positions. So few and far between. Are there asshole Democrats? Yes, there are.
Oh, yeah.
Are there grifters? I hate the fact that you can, when you have people say, oh, both parties do it, and they'll cite one or two examples when a bill was rushed through by Democrats 30 years ago, or, there are the outliers. There are bad people who have positions who are Democrats. There are scumbags, shithole, pedophiles. You go down the list. But the GOP endorses scumhole, pedophile, not like literally people who are out white supremacists running. All that said, you and I are in the one state that has a GOP, a Republican governor, who I'm going to have to dig down deeper into Charlie Baker's history and background and policies, because about a year and a half ago, he put through legislation in Massachusetts that bulletproof a woman's choice, like ahead of the curve, knowing where the judges are going, knowing the federal judgeship, knowing the Supreme Court, knowing who's in the White House. He took preemptive steps to make Massachusetts. He also, the healthcare that we have in the state is ahead of the curve. Education. Just today, he signed into legislation making it easier and voting more accessible to people. And I've said this before. I just got into debate with a friend the other day saying, "Oh, both sides do it." And I said to him, I'm like, I can name 15 states where the governors in the past 5-6 years have gone well out of their way. I mean, to the extreme to purge voter logs, to purge different kind of lists, to even prevent people from getting on voter logs, and to put in legislation to keep poor and minorities from being able to vote. Like, went out of their way. And I said, I can name 15 of these states and 15 of these governors. Can you name one Democrat? Charlie Moore is the exception. I mean, he's the bad apple. Charlie Baker. I'm sorry. Charlie Baker. Thank you. I mean, and it's funny because management and I just had a talk a little while ago. And when I told her, yeah, he's a Republican, she's like, no, he's not a Republican. And she's like, he did. And she's the one that told me about the women's choice thing. Yeah. Marijuana speak. I mean, he's a proponent of distilleries and stuff like that, coming, or dispensaries, sorry. And she named like 3 or 4 things that she knew about. And she just had assumed because, it's Massachusetts, because Elizabeth Warren and all this stuff, that he was a Democrat. And I told her, it's like, no, do you realize that like 3 of the last 4 governors of Massachusetts have been Republican, but he is such a moderate. And honestly, I don't think there's another governor, senator, congressperson, like on a national level, who is half as moderate as this guy. And he will. He's running for re-election. He will probably win. He will probably come in with like 75% of the vote in a blue state.
Yeah, I agree because, I mean, honestly, he's not doing a terrible job. He's holding the position of being socially moderate. I mean, he's fiscally conservative. I'm sure there are issues if you dig deep into, where he's getting money for funding or what he wants to do as far as improving. I mean, he does want to improve education, but I don't know how. It's not as wild as like, free education for everybody, raising taxes, yada, yada, yada. I'm sure there's some sort of mechanism there that Democrats probably would not agree with. But yeah, you're right. I think to win in Massachusetts, Charlie Baker has to be a moderate Republican.
But I mean, to win, yes. But to be reelected, and he was just like voted like most popular governor in the state, which is funny because you think red states that vote 90%, they would have this, but he didn't. He didn't go out of his way when Amazon was, Boston was on the short list of the second headquarters for Amazon. He didn't go out of his way to bankrupt the state, to bring the big business here and do whatever it could for big business. It's funny because it was a private group that was pushing for Boston to be considered for the Olympic. I think it was like the 2028 Olympics.
Yeah, 2028.
And he's like, no, Boston does not want this. We are not going to have these resources. I mean, your oldest is out of public schools now, but you've had it's not like he's gutting schools to pay for, what. And again, I don't know him well enough to say he's the greatest. Yeah. But I will say I cannot name another national prominent GOP person.
And he's pro-environment too. I mean, I think there are environment strides in legislation that he's taking to improve environmental laws in Massachusetts. So, there's that. Yeah, I mean, Massachusetts is, I think, in an upswing economically. I mean, big time.
We have, and it's funny because management's old boss has met with him a couple times. Because Charlie Baker is for raising the minimum wage. I don't know if he's on board with it going up to $15, but he has said he would back a minimum wage increase, a livable wage is what they're calling it. And management's former boss, who owns hundreds of restaurants, has met with him personally to try to say, a guy who literally leaves his $8 million house in a Porsche to drive to have lunch with Charlie Baker to say, I can't afford to pay people a livable wage, for working for me. So I do. I want it, because, Biff has recently pointed out a couple things that, like, we haven't said, oh, the Democrats have effed up this or that. They F up a lot of things,
Al Franken.
Right. Well, I think they messed up on Al Franken by not letting him have his voice in court. Threw him out too quickly, but that's
Either that, or he just personally didn't want to go through.
no,
it.
he did.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
basically, everybody else in the Senate said, "Yeah, you're on your own. Like if you're going to fight this, you're fighting it without us."
Yeah. All right, we won't get
Anyways,
into that.
so I do. I want to take the 1 second, we're now about 4 minutes out of the podcast, to say, you know what? If there is a decent human being who happens to be Republican, I'm not going to put a lawn sign out for him, but I'm also not going to say every one of them. I'm going to say every other one of them.
Most of them. Are you saying that there are fine people on
both sides? Happy anniversary, Joe. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, that's right, Charlottesville.
As we record this, it is the 1 year anniversary of a woman being killed in Charlotte, and the comment Charlottesville, and the comment the following morning of there's fine people on both sides. So yesterday,
many sides.
Fine people, and how did
kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons die? There's many sides.
Who do you think's listening?
Nerds.
Yeah, thank you. That's for you, Peter. But we.
He's not listening.
You think? But seriously, it's
it's the 1 year anniversary of the Charlottesville the Nazi rally,
and Cheetolini in chief ended up.
What was that about?
On his 1 year anniversary yesterday of Charlotte, did he say, no, there's not fine people on both sides. No, put those tiki torches down. He went right after the NFL players because yesterday was the first preseason game and a couple of them took a knee.
Yep.
Went right after the sons of bitches, doubling down.
Yep, gotta. They don't learn if you don't tell them.
Exactly. Oh, God, there was an awful, and I almost quoted it, and maybe only you would get that, and like 90% of things I say on this podcast, but there was an old commercial that used to play on 56. There was a plantation here that they used to have historical things, and they would have
plantation.
Once you get to, you better set your mind to working. Do you remember that ad?
I think that might have been a little before my time.
All right,
it might have been like late 70s. So I don't know, but are you talking about Plymouth Plantation?
I think so.
I mean, that's like it's like our Colonial Williamsburg in Massachusetts. You go to Plymouth Rock, which is now, I think, like a pebble at the bottom of a well.
Yeah, by erosion.
Right. And people chipping away at it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
People were just chipping away at Plymouth Rock like it was, the Berlin Wall.
Like the Constitution. 3.
Wait, hold on. Mic drop.
Yeah, he had to take the mic off the holder, move the wind guard, or as I like to call it, the food guard.
It is the food guard. We don't need this. We have wind guards on our.
So, anyways, moving on to happier GOP news. So, Charlie Baker, decent person.
Yep.
On the other hand, GOP Rep Collins, complete piece of shit. Who, again, he pulled a Martha Stewart. Here's a guy whose net worth, I think it's something like maybe it's 80 million, or maybe it's high up there. Joe's looking at the congressional representative
Chris Collins
from upstate New York, not to be confused
with Chris Collinsworth,
right? Exactly. Which
also maybe as reprehensible.
I believe so. If you're a Patriot fan, anyways. So he and what's great about it, he hasn't been charged. He hasn't been indicted. He has been arrested and, brought to the Gray Bar Hotel, processed, and stood in front of a judge to plead guilty or innocent, and a court date set for insider trading. And what's hysterical about this is I was watching the prosecutors, when they were talking about the indictment, and they had the graphs of like, this is what he did. This is they already put the case out there, and I think they're doing it now because it's going to be another witch hunt. It's going to be another, it's partisan. It's going to be the FBI, bias. So they had the chart. It's like, here's when he got the phone call. This is what he did. 24 hours before the company announced, it's a Australian company that had a cancer medication, or no, MS. I think it was an MS medication, and its trials failed, and it was their one and only product that they were planning to release to market. So he gets an email from the company saying, tomorrow we're going to announce that it failed miserably, and their stock dropped like 93% that next day. He instantly called his son, who he couldn't. If you were on the board, you couldn't dump your stock, but his son could. His ex-son-in-law could. His ex-son-in-law's mother could.
His
or father
accountant could. No way.
But if you were on the board, you couldn't drop it. But there was like 4 or 5 people in his family that he got to invest heavily in this who dumped their stock. 12 hours later, it goes completely down the drain. When he got the phone call, and they have pictures of this, he was at some White House lawn party. And and then the government knows, like, he called his son. It was like the 6th or 7th phone call. In the course of 5 minutes, his son finally picked up.
Was there a silent auction going on at this lawn party?
Yeah, pretty much. And
you know what I'm talking about?
I don't. Oh, yeah.
Get out.
Get out. Get out.
But anyway,
it's funny now. Every time I hear someone like stirring, like
the tea.
sugar into tea or something like that, I'm like, "Am I going to
the sunken
place?"
Anyway,
but but he did. He does this. He does this stock drop, and again, this is somebody whose net worth is in the tens of millions. Who collectively his family saved like $700,000 by all dumping their stock, which. In your world is a shitload of money. In my world is a shitload of money. But really, in this world, and here's the fucked up thing. And I guess as of probably very, very soon, you can be a seating member of Congress and be on a board like this. You can be, still on a pharmaceutical company, which you will have votes on legislation, on laws and stuff like that. You can't as a senator, you can as a congressperson. So I'm guessing the Congress is going to have to change the rule. But yeah, another witch hunt, Joe.
You know who's sitting on board? Me. I'm bored.
Are you bored?
I'm bored with this talk about politics and stuff. Can we talk about something cool?
Well, look, let's change the topic. Okay, we mentioned that those sons of bitches taking a knee expressing their First Amendment right. But another champion, another real champion.
You mean an American hero?
An American hero, thank you.
Believe it or not.
Having his voice silenced, Joe. What are your views?
My views?
Yeah.
My views are, I think it's a tragedy.
And what about our guest views? How does our guest feel about his First Amendment rights being stolen away?
Really? Am I going to do this?
Yeah.
I hate this.
Only because it hurts your throat so much and your soul.
And it's lame, yeah. This is Alex Jones. Yeah. Oh, man. I can't get into the Alex Jones. Alex Jones are getting silenced by the right wing, left wing, center wing media. You can't believe any wing anymore. This is the Infowars.com. I guess I lost the Infowars.
So who have you been thrown off of now?
I've been thrown off of Facebook, Instagram, Grindr, all the other. I think MySpace. MySpace Friendster came back and they kicked me off. My only friend in the world is Jacques from Twitter.
Are you on LinkedIn?
Am I on LinkedIn? Are you serious? Are you serious? That I'm going to put my information out there for all the world to see and to steal my identity on LinkedIn? Probably the most corporate-minded bullshit. I'm really getting tired of this voice. Actually, I'm just out of material. I'm sorry. I'm really out of material. I haven't been on the internet since some time. I should be fired up. God damn it! I should be fired up like this Newman nacho cheese dip that I'm using right now.
I'm surprised that Sean Hannity's on vacation, and he didn't have you fill in for him today because today he had Giuliani and, I'm forgetting the other lawyer's name. I'm dead serious. I don't know if you heard this, but Bloatis' 2 lawyers, his outside counsel, the 2 guys handling his Russia case, filled in for 3 hours and took phone calls on Sean Hannity's radio show today for 3 full hours. Hannity wasn't there. They filled in and took phone calls from people who can't get to Alex Jones today. Like Alex Jones people looking to fill the void got to talk to Uncle Julie.
That's amazing. Good for him. Oh, am I supposed to be Alex Jones still?
No,
Oh, okay,
you don't
good.
have to be Alex Jones anymore. Now, let's completely change the subjects. It was hysterical. It was hysterical that Dennis Rodman was part of the official U.S. envoy to go meet with Kim Jong-un. He is an absolute, I don't know if he got diplomatic paperwork or what, but the fact that he was officially part of that. And now another hero, another American hero, Steven Seagal, is representing Putin and Russia. And they came up with some crappy, weird title.
I don't know, but he's out for justice. He's under siege.
Have you heard? Don't go down on it. Have you heard about this, though?
Yeah, I just named 2 of his fucking movies.
No, but he, I'm trying to think. It's like one of those titles. It's like, he's the head of the Russian Committee to Better Relation with.
That's like the name. That's like the subtitle for Borat.
Right, yes, thank you.
For make better relations for Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan. We're talking about Steven Seagal, motherfuckers.
He's absolutely, and again, it's not the bizarreness that he is a representative of Putin to the United States, not the other way around. I mean, we literally are in the upside down.
It's pretty gross. But I mean, is he like the Marvin Hagler of Russia now? Like, is that like, Marvelous Marvin Hagler went on, became a movie star in Greece, I believe, right? Or Italy or something?
Yeah.
Is he, I don't know if he's making movies. I don't know what he's doing, but he likes Russia. He lives out there, and he's cozy with Putin. What is going on with these people? What's with these people?
These D-list, C-list, fringe wingnut.
Yeah.
Famous for a day, type thing.
He looks like the bad guy in like
every Russian movie.
Oh, right. Or I was gonna say like a 90s arcade game or something like that. Oh no, we gotta defeat Mr. Big.
So no matter what happens with Steven Seagal and Putin, do you go to bed easier last night knowing that Space Force is going to be funded, or that Space Force is actually they have next week? The Pentagon has been poised with giving its first steps into creating a separate but equal 6th branch of the military Space Force.
I did go to bed cozy last night because of my friends at MyPillow.com. MyPillow is the one and only memory foam pillow endorsed by Infowars.com. That's the only thing that I want remembering anything of mine is that pillow. That's the only thing that I'll accept remembering my contours of my big, fat, sweaty, pimpled head.
But Mike Pence gave a speech.
MyPillow.com
asked for $8 million. Now, keep in mind, he asked for $8 million for the starting of the funding of Space Force. At the same time, the Congress has turned down the requested $250 million to protect this, midterms election from outsider hacking.
I just think he wants a Space Force One. That's really the only thing.
Do you think honestly
he wants a spaceship?
And this is how fucked up his supporters and followers are. And by supporters and followers, I mean Mike Pence and Mitch McConnell and all the people who are just as much sucking up to him as anybody else. He says something off the cuff. And so he won't look like a dementia-ridden old guy that he is. They are still pushing ahead. And every country in the world has signed the treaty to keep space neutral.
Uh-huh.
It's.
I don't know. I mean, I think,
and the thing is,
this is more of a chicken and egg thing. Like, are they going along with his Space Force idea?
Well, here's the thing.
Or is it
honestly? Here's the thing. And people said this 20 years ago. We're in a war right now. 20 years ago, people had started to say the next war isn't going to be fought with tanks and planes.
It's going to be fought with
guns. It's going to be fought with information. It's going to be fought on the net. We are losing. We have been invaded, and we're losing. And in fact, we are giving comfort and aid to the absolute letters of the law when it comes to treason. And I forget the verbiage, but I know giving comfort and aid to
aiding and abetting.
No, that's
okay.
Something else. But comfort and aid to, and that's going back to colonial
comfort
times.
And aid.
No. When if you sheltered a redcoat, if there was a redcoat wounded and you went and you helped him and nursed him back, that's like those laws, the verbiage from that ye old time, and that's what we're doing. Russia, as we talked, has one aircraft carrier that breaks down, that has 2 tugboats, seriously, 2 tugboats that have to, and it's right now based in Syria. They don't have the money to build a second aircraft carrier, let alone maintain their first aircraft carrier, let alone fight a space war. Like, the only people who are really making advances in the space right now is China, of course, and Elon Musk. So basically, are you going to hire Elon Musk to create the Space Force? Are you creating the Space Force to combat Elon Musk?
I think he's listening to way too much Alex Jones, and that he thinks that there are going to be invaders from other planets coming down to inhabit our souls and take over our government, New World Order. There. I'm getting bored with this. Anyways, yeah, our president's a nut, and the people around him are nuts. Cuckoo. Cuckoo.
We'll quickly talk on the next SCOTUS pick, who now the Democrats, because this has never happened before. Kavanaugh was part of the Bush White House and was alleged to have part of the famous torture memo, basically, twisting and turning to find a way to say that waterboarding isn't torture. And a few years later, when he was up for a federal judgeship and had a Senate hearing, he said, no, I was not in the room. I had nothing to do with the writing of that. That completely was either before my time or after my time. I had nothing to do with this. Now it's circling back that not only did he have to do with it, he probably wrote half the damn thing himself. He's up for the Supreme Court. The Senate, the Democrats on the Senate said, we want all the documentation on all the memos from these 2 years he worked at the White House. The Republicans are blocking that. They know that this will kill his nomination if this comes out. So what the Democrats had to do is what any journalist would have to do. They have filed a Freedom of Information Act to get these documents. Literally this week it came out that Dennis Nunes was heard on a mic at a fundraiser flat out saying, our job is to protect the president and to keep this investigation from going forward and to discredit it. And now they're flat out saying, yeah, we know this guy was for torture and we know he believes that the president's powers are unlimited. We have to get him nominated. And they're keeping the Democrats from being able to get the information released. So they're having to do what Middlesex Community College newspaper would have to do to get documents, file a Freedom of Information Act. That's how partisan, that's how, party before country they have gone. But this week, as we're talking, the runoff election in Ohio.
Oh, boy.
The results haven't come in yet, and it's less than 1%. This is a district where the representative has been a Republican since '83. The bloat has won by double digits. And right now they are literally counting, absentee ballots and stuff. Even if the Democrat loses, is that a win?
No, because it's a loss.
Okay.
Unfortunately, because of Green Party interference, they would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those meddling Green Partiers. If you follow liberal people on Twitter, especially liberal celebrities on Twitter, they were yelling a lot at the Green Party and their meddling in this election and basically saying, and then somebody threw out, I think it was Alyssa Milano, and I love her, but I didn't agree with her assertion that, and I think she was half joking, that all of these Green Party votes, which is a substantial amount considering the district that's being voted in, she's like, is this, this has to be Russian meddling, right? And I'm like, okay, let's not rule it out, but let's not confirm that. That's a little harsh.
On my way over here, they just found 600 unaccounted ballots that they're now counting. They thought they had everything together.
Yeah. But that's the American democracy. That's not anything new. Oh, my God. We thought we had all the ballots, but then...
Vote early and vote often.
Yeah, seriously. So, but it just sort of magnifies the importance of having to unify under one party and sort of maybe biting your tongue and sucking it up and saying, okay, Hillary Clinton isn't Bernie Sanders, but fucking I got to vote for Hillary Clinton, or whomever is the Democrat isn't as, libertarian as I'd like them to be.
I mean, we've gone so far. I mean, the other side, which is better at so many things, including shutting up and following in line whoever becomes the top of the ticket. At one of his pep rallies the other day, they were selling like hotcakes, which, sidebar, I don't know how hotcakes sell, but you saw all these heavy-set middle-aged, older white guys wearing shirts that said, "Rather be Russian than a Dem." And those are the big new, the lock 'em up shirts, and the Hillary shirts were the big seller last year.
Hitlery,
thank you. This one, now they're flat out, they've gone from there's nothing, there's less thing to obstructionist and collusion.
right?
No collusion. And now they're flat out saying collusion's not a crime. And they're openly saying Steven Seagal was right.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to go beat my head on the wall. And if you could find
there's nothing to
sponsor of the week.
Is there a defunct sponsor this week? I don't know. Should there be? I guess.
There always will be.
I guess so.
Soon it will be all the farmers who lost their farms because of the terrorists. But in the meantime, I'm quite sure. I'm quite sure there's a lot of people who are now out on the skids because Alec Jones isn't hawking their products and keeping them alive.
Too bad for them. So, I don't know. Hey, whatever. Here's a defunct sponsor of the week.
I just took a shower with Farrah Fawcett.
Shampoo, Joe. He just took a shower with Farrah Fawcett shampoo. And his hair smells clean and fresh, and it has great body.
Great body.
And shine.
And best of all, you can say you've showered with Farrah Fawcett.
Shampoo, Joe.
Farrah Fawcett shampoo and conditioner with vitamins, minerals, protein, and herbs.
Right now, Joe, is officially football season, and I'm still riding the I don't give a fuck train. And
you're a normal sports fan because it's fucking preseason.
No. At this point a year ago, I mean, I never got that hyped up about the first 2 or 3 preseason games with the Patriots. If they were on in the background, or I would at least be interested if so-and-so is playing, if they're sitting out, you're like, what's going on? Dude, I don't give a fuck, and it's all the drama. And today, was the day after the first Patriots preseason game, and I went out of my way. I made a goal for myself to get here today and not know how they did yesterday.
Good job.
Seriously. So I listened to a bunch of, the boys enjoyed in the car, a bunch of Damian Wayne and Tim Drake specific podcasts. Of course, as you know, the third and fourth Robin. The loving look that he's giving me. But I don't know, and I don't care. And the only thing I heard the other day is like Brady's restructuring his contract. He wants all this money now. And the funny thing is, one of the things we always liked about him, he's never been a top 10 paid quarterback because he always he understands the salary cap and always wants to make sure that, hey, if you just like the problems that Peyton Manning made the first 10 years of his career, you paid him all the money. And what was left, you gave to the offensive, the skill position, the receivers and stuff like that. And they would put up 45 points and lose by 5 because he had nobody on the other side. And we always loved the fact that Brady put team before, but now that he turned 41 last week, now he wants. Right, exactly. Now he's become. Anyway, so it's just turned us off. It's funny because I did hear one show this week and people talking about, is it because the Red Sox are doing so well? Is that why there isn't that much enthusiasm? Or the fact that this roster, and we will do a sideshow before the season starts. I'll come around a bit in the next 3 or 4 weeks. I'm sure I will. But it won't be, the passion won't be half of what it is. But when we sat here a year ago, we weren't talking, the sports radio in Boston, we're talking, are they going to go 23-0? Are they going to win all 4 preseason games, 16 regular season games, and 3 playoff games? And people were really talking. You went out and you got, you traded your first-round draft pick for Cook, and Gronk was healthy, and Edelman was healthy, and Amendola was healthy, and you had a slew of great running backs who were all coming back healthy. And truly, up until the first game that we watched at Buffalo Wild Wing, in which they lost to Kansas City, people were truly talking. They have a legit, better than 50-50 chance of going undefeated last season. And now, I don't give a fuck.
Probably because they don't have a legitimate chance of going undefeated. I mean, they're a busted team.
Well, it literally, and we've never really talked about this, after things went south in that loss in February, the big talk for the past 6 months has been, they lost that game. And we've never talked about this on the podcast. You realize Malcolm Butler was only on the field for 1 play in the Super Bowl, and it was a kickoff coverage. It was one special team. Here's a guy who was your starting cornerback the last 3 years. And even as the Eagles scored on 6 possessions in a row, Belichick never, whatever happened off the field that pissed Belichick off that he benched his best cornerback, even losing at one point by, 3 scores, he never put him on the defensive side of the ball. Backup quarterback threw for over 400 yards, and you never put him in there. It's like basically Belichick threw away that. And ever since then, it's caused dissent with the team. Brady's being a complete douche. You trade, you're being cheap, and you lose Amendola. The fucked up thing is Edelman, the team was told by the NFL Edelman's getting suspended for 4 games in mid-March. It doesn't go public till mid-June. So you were going to have Edelman for the first 4 games, and you still let Amendola go to Miami.
I can't wait for the 30 for 30 on that Super Bowl. Or something.
Something.
There's going to be there's more to
There's
the story.
going to be a 40 for 40 on Deflategate. There's going to be a 30 for 30. The Jimmy Garoppolo trade, and that's the whole thing. Like, Belichick was still pissed about having to get rid of Garoppolo. Did he, and he would never admit this, but did he say, yeah, I want to win the Super Bowl, but fuck it. It's like would he rather not win the Super Bowl?
I've won enough Super Bowls. Is that what you're saying?
Well, he's made it to 10 Super Bowls as a coach coordinator, 8 as a head coach, 2 as a coordinator. He's won 7. Did he literally say, yeah, I would like to win it, but, hey, my legacy, I got us here. If Tom can win one, great. But I'm going to, like, he sabotaged the team.
Something happened. You're right. Or he thought that he could do it his way, literally only his way.
So everybody fucked up. Brady forces a trade with Garoppolo, and now is holding the team hostage for money. He's a douchebag. He fucked up. Belichick is pissed that he had his hands tied and had to trade Garoppolo. So he said, fuck it. So how can I be looking forward to going into a new season when the coach threw the Super Bowl and the quarterback is being the diva douchebag that we always loved him for not being?
Let it out, Jacques. You know you want to.
But so I start by saying I don't care, but apparently I do. But I do want to say this past week, it was great. There was another white supremacist rally, and my favorite meme of the week. Did you see the meme? There was a guy, a heavyset guy, a little bigger than me, a little taller than me, a little heavier than me, but same thing, almost dressed like a Ninja Turtle.
He was carrying a green shield. He wore a green, bandana or mask over his face. He had a green cape, I think.
And gloves.
Oh, and gloves, right.
And green gloves. And somebody cropped that picture of just him and a picture of LeBron James, working out, just...
Oh, no, he was lifting a tire.
Lifting a tire. And it's like the guy on the left believes he's genetically superior to the guy on the right. And this past week, 2 weeks ago, you heard about LeBron James' school. Like, love him or hate him, he put $40+ million into the school
in Akron, Ohio, for at-risk kids.
At-risk kids, and it's really great. Then he goes on and he's talking with Don Lemon, happens to be another black guy who's a reporter, and Blotus and in the interview, Don Lemon asks LeBron if he would meet with the president if the president asked. He goes, no, there's no reason to. He didn't elaborate. He didn't say, I hate his policies. He's a racist and I hate him. He goes, no, there's no reason to talk to him. So, of course, because you don't bow down and kiss the ring.
And you're black.
Mostly because you're black. He decides to attack Don Lemon and attack LeBron James. And did you see LeBron James's reply?
I did not.
There wasn't one.
See?
And Aaron Rodgers weighed in on it. This is before the first preseason game where people took a knee. And Aaron Rodgers is the first prominent white NFL quarterback or white player, to come out and say, it's like, that's brilliant. That's how you deal with him. Just ignore him. And that's how the NFL fucked up. When he started saying all this, should have just ignored him. Would have gone away, but instead
they can't because most of them voted for the motherfucker,
and most of the owners gave him money, as we all found
that's
out.
The thing, yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like they all engaged, and it was great to hear Aaron Rodgers. He wasn't going off saying First Amendment players have a right to do this, but he flat out said LeBron is the first person in this realm just ignore it. And the other, some of the other tweets and some of the other people have come out and said, it's like, because he attacks, it's like their intelligence. He always goes after black people's intelligence, which is just awesome. It's like, here's well-spoken,
educated.
No, LeBron right out of high school.
Oh, right.
But Don Lemons, I mean, these are smart, intellectual people, and it was great that he goes after it. But like somebody's like, okay, let me get the same thing. The guy on the left thinks he's genetically inferior. It's like one guy built a school for at-risk kids. One guy has been putting immigrant children in cages, and
built a for-profit university bilking,
yeah. Right? So fuck you. But good for you,
Wait,
LeBron.
whoa! What's with the language?
I know.
That's the president of the United States. Oh my God!
And so the one other thing, so the NFL, we'll touch on this really quick. Dude, they're just trying to figure so much shit out at once, and they're doing it. Now they have this new rule where if you lead with your head to tackle, you get automatically ejected. And they're trying to fight the CTE and all this stuff, but it's like, here are people. You're 30 years old. In the NFL, you've been playing 4 years of high school, 4 years of college, 6-7 years in the NFL, and 3-4 weeks before the season, they're like, we're going to completely change how the linemen, you can't, how can the linemen not bash their heads together? They literally line up 2 inches apart from each other.
And lean forward.
And their whole goal is to run forward as fast as you can. It's going to be interesting to see how they try to, figure this out. I get, making it all safer, but it's at what point do we go to flag football? I I'm trying to think. I think it's like Taj.0, like he's holding he goes, I'm all for steroids. It's like, I want my athletes to be like they are in video games. I want to see you run faster, jump higher, hit harder. I don't care that you die 4 years after you're done with playing, and you don't care either because your life sucks after you're done playing too. Who are we kidding?
Oh, man. I mean, the NFL might as well we're going to ban straws from the field. That's our solution.
Yep.
Yeah, with just anything. Just throw anything out there.
But that's all I have for sport.
Oh, boy.
But now, we are. We're what are we in? We're 50 minutes in.
Yeah.
You might have to, because we got a lot of video game.
This is going to be a jam-packed... I mean, too bad we spent all that time on that boring political shit that you've already read in the news 600 times.
But now let's get to the stuff that
nobody cares about.
No, not sadly. How many times when you tried to get rid of the random video game review of the week?
I know people.
Hell was to be paid,
and it was dearly. So let's talk about some before we get to the random video game review of the week. Let's talk about video game news. Nintendo is on the offensive in 2 ways. One, of course, is that they've released a Nintendo Direct, which is one of those YouTube videos that they put out every, 3 months or so. This one was specifically for the new Smash Brothers game that's coming out in December. It's called Smash Brothers Ultimate. It has every single character in all 4 iterations of Smash Brothers video game since in history. So it's every Smash Brothers fighter. If you don't know Smash Brothers, whoa. But let me clue you in. It's a fighting game on Nintendo only, where they take Nintendo video game characters or characters that have appeared in video games that have been on Nintendo systems, like Mega Man or even Sonic. Sonic's not even. Sonic wasn't. Yeah, I think he appeared on some Wii games because by then Sega had been out of the business. But anyway, and they put them together and you fight each other, and it's really good, and it's a highly competitive game.
One of my nieces, ex-boyfriends was a competitive Smash Bros. Traveled to do tournaments.
Yeah. And
got paid for it.
So big news this week is that they've added a couple of characters.
Like whom?
Well, they've added, they've added an Echo Fighter, Dark Samus.
Fighter?
An Echo Fighter, yeah.
Echo Fighter? Echo Fighter?
See what he's doing?
Echo Fighter?
Probably not. He's off mic.
Echo Fighter. Echo.
Okay, an Echo Fighter in this game apparently it's a playable character that copies a moveset or copies like the body style of another character. Anyways, it's kind of like a partner, if you will. But anyways, so the Dark Samus is a Echo Fighter that has been introduced, and also For you Castlevania fans out there, Simon Belmont is now a playable Smash Brothers character in the upcoming Smash Brothers game. Yes, the Simon Belmont. And his Echo Fighter, I think, is Alucard, which is Dracula's son, as you know from the lore. You know, Alucard is Dracula spelled backwards.
How I would not have known, except for our sideshow where you gave us a complete history
Right.
Of the Castlevania.
I call that the snooze fest.
I call it awesome.
But yeah, this is pretty awesome. It's got new music, all the Castlevania style music, the Castlevania Dracula's Castle stages, the weaponry, with the whip and the cross boomerang that he throws.
The little guy was playing with his Switch today, and he's like, "Oh, Papa, I've been waiting to show you this trailer." I'm like, "Oh, great!" And so he puts the Switch on the controller, so it comes on the big TV. And it's the gloomy castle, and, it's scary, and all of a sudden, it's Luigi. And I'm thinking, oh, and it's really well done. For the first 30, 40 seconds of this thing, it's this fantastic, creepy, and I didn't know where it was going.
And he's decked out like he is in Luigi's Mansion, where he's got that ghost-busting kind of backpack, the
with
vacuum.
the light.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he gets chopped, like a Grim Reaper character hits him with a scythe, and his body drops. His ghost appears, and then all of a sudden, and it looks almost like a Jedi in the rain, like a big cloak. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what is this? And I take it off, and then it's like throws that.
It's a mace, like a mace whip.
Mace whip.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell is this character? And then when I saw the name, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't finish watching the trailer, and I text you. It's like.
And I'm actually mistaken. His Echo Fighter is not Alucard. He's like an assist trophy or something, which is another thing. Hey, look it up. Simon Belmont's Echo Fighter is Richter Belmont, which was another. It's a popular character because he appeared in Rondo of Blood, which was for. It's very obscure for the American audience, but for the Castlevania freaks out there, very popular. He's actually the character that's played at the beginning of Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the PlayStation, which was like a monumental game, and everybody that loves Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So you get to play as two awesome characters, and then they did that. Then to add to the Nintendo Direct, they run down the numbers of I think they said if you play every single track available of music end to end, 28 hours of music. There's 900 tracks of music so far.
And Chip Boy couldn't get one of them?
No, we couldn't get one in there. These are, I guess they wanted professionals.
Hey!
Hey! He's learning. He's starting out. But there are, and then I think
he just needs a good agent.
And there are over 80 playable characters, I think. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous game.
Yes or no? Are the 4 offspring of our wives upstairs playing Smash as we speak?
I'm going to have to say yes. One thing you're going to have to do, by the way, I'll bring it up briefly, is that in September, Nintendo Online launches. Now, that means something for people who play the Switch, online, basically. The free online is going away. You're going to have to pay an exorbitant amount.
How many V-Bucks?
Now you're going to pay real bucks.
Well, V-Bucks are real bucks. Every time when the little bastard's like, Papa, there's a new dance in the Fortnite store. I need 100 V-Bucks. That cost 10 real bucks.
I don't know, but
Go mow a lawn, you little fuck.
I know, right. See if Donald Trump needs some help. But
That's too almost.
Yeah, I'm getting that spit. That's what I really want, is a spit take right in my face in my own basement. But what that means is that Nintendo Online, when it launches, it's like PlayStation Plus, only kind of better because you're not paying $60 a year for one account. You're paying $20 a year or maybe $30 a year. I think it's like $30 a year for up to 7 users. So you can I could pay for you and my kids. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a really it's not free, but it's also it also you get access to more things that they're also launching as part of this new wave of online content. They're now going to be putting on their services old NES games, which you can play one-on-one, like 2-player games with other people.
Right. Good.
Over the internet, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. That's kind of a niche thing. I don't know. Nintendo's still there. They're good. They're doing nice things. They need to make some more money, apparently. But hopefully this will make it easy. As long as it makes it easier for you to find your friends online, I don't know. I doubt that's going to be the case.
No, because the boys play Fortnite, and I don't know if it's
Do they play on the Switch?
They play on the Switch. They play on the PS4, and they play on my phone. And I think as of this week...
Is it all cross-platform?
Yeah, it's the first time that I know of a game that we've had that can do that. And now this week, I think Android, you can finally play Fortnite on.
Right.
No. All right, so that's the good news. Tell us the bad news from Nintendo.
So Nintendo also, because they're, kind of embracing with the release of the Nintendo Classic system in stores that had all the, 30 of their Nintendo games, or the plug-and-play system, that you could play old Nintendo games. They had the Super Nintendo Classic that recently came out with 20-something games on there. They're cracking down on ROM distribution. Now, ROM is the actual data file of a video game. It's that you can play on your computer via emulation. Emulation's been around since the late 90s, and that's probably the proliferation of emulation online and ROM distribution, however illegal it was to distribute those ROMs, because it is intellectual property. It's basically file sharing. It's like music, except for video games. File sharing those types of games is not legal to do that, but they weren't cracking down as hard. Now they're really putting a full court press on a lot of emulation sites. They've filed lawsuits against 2 prominent ROM distribution sites, and then one that I actually frequented that had not just Nintendo games, but it was PlayStation 2 games, like really high-end stuff. Yeah, it's not good to have that resource out there in a financial sense, because essentially you're basically giving away video games for free that aren't yours. But it also got people into video games and retro gaming for years. There are other benefits to ROM emulation, because with that they also had budding game developers hacking the ROMs, learning how the games were made, and then also applying fan translations. Like there were Japanese only games, like Final Fantasy is a very popular franchise, where video games were literally only made for Japanese audiences. Whereas if you didn't know Japanese, you could not even, you couldn't play a role-playing game like that in America if you didn't know Japanese. And people would, dedicate time and effort to translating the Japanese text into English so that the Western audiences could play these games finally. And then all that is gone. Like the one emulation site that I frequent or is in my favorites on my computer is
Pornhub.
EMU Paradise, EMU Paradise. They had basically every video game. And it was all neat. It was clean. There was no viruses detected kind of thing. You're not downloading from some weird site where you're seeing a GIF of somebody fucking.
Something inspected, no virus detected.
Oh yeah, right. Every file inspected, no viruses detected. I beta tested every operating system, gave props to some, and others I dissed them. I'll control, I'll delete you. But so that Nintendo is and other lawsuits from other companies, but Nintendo's really putting the heat on these sites. And so MU Paradise the other day just said, we've been up for 18 years. The site's not going away, but the ROMs are. So thanks for the memories. And because it's like some guy literally a guy in India who for over years has created this community where people are giving, translating the games or transferring the games to ROMs and putting
That's the cool thing. You would get the translations.
Yeah, right. People would submit stuff, and then they would vet them, or he and a bunch of other people would vet them. And it was great. And now that emulation is now perfected almost for all these retro systems on your computer, it's virtually seamless, if not better. What emulation, and that actually emulation helped kind of bring in Nintendo to do these types of retro systems. They're basically little emulation machines, but now that they're in the game, it's kind of okay, well, now we don't want you guys, we're not cool with you distributing our IP and all of our, because we probably someday will want to sell these games again. They're not making money off of, selling these games if people are going to just download them for their computer. So I don't know. It's it sucks, but I get it. It doesn't mean ROMs are going away. It just means that it's kind of like file sharing and Napster and stuff. It's they're on to you, and the RIAA was on to these file sharing sites, and they full court pressed these websites, and
it's funny, or it's the same thing with Napster. I was never a big Napster guy. If I wanted a Weezer album or something, I would just get it. But the one big thing from Napster that I loved is you could find stuff on Napster you couldn't find anywhere else. Like somebody bootlegging, it's like, our friend Chris, the big video guy, a Resident Evil expert, our senior Resident Evil correspondent.
Yes.
He loves Blink-182. One of my favorite bands is Dinosaur Jr. And on Napster one time, I found Blink-182 covering a Dinosaur Jr. song. It was never a B-side. It was never going to be released. It was not something that they normally did at shows. It was great to have it, and that was one of the great things. It's like, when I went to the Napsters or the other places, at the time, it was to find stuff like that, which you wouldn't find anywhere else.
Right, but and we get it. For the most part, people are downloading like the latest albums that are illegally distributed, and it's taking literal money away from record companies and artists and stuff. So we get it. And same with the video games. It's a shame. I don't think Atari is hurting that somebody's, downloading the illegal, ET, the extraterrestrial 2600 game. Those guys aren't going to make a dime off of those other things. I don't know. But, also it kind of makes you think, well, okay, if they can also crack down on that, are they going to crack down on like videos? They've been trying to crack down on. Nintendo has been trying to crack down on like videos of people doing
like the walkthroughs. And
stuff?
The
walkthroughs and the Let's Plays. Again, it's like they don't know what to do. Nintendo's a great company, but at the same time, they're also like hesitant to change and kind of adapt. So I don't know. It's most people don't give a shit, but I got my ROMs. Luckily, I got all of my ROMs on multiple hard drives.
So what you're saying is, if we want ROMs, go get them right now.
No, I mean, well,
or is it too late?
No,
Have they already shut them down?
No, the easy to find like aggregate sites or like the more prominent sites are pretty much like they're on the out. You could probably go to like other language sites. I think there's like a French language site that's I remember seeing. Yeah, that's right. That's what they named the Wii after. But whatever. Or just go outside, stop playing video games, get some sun.
Before we move on to the random video game review of the week, my one little note on video games: I sadly beat Temple Run this week.
Well, good for you.
No, because every day they have these daily challenges.
Uh-huh.
And over the course of time, they have these daily, weekly, monthly challenges, and you can level up to whatever. It's the same game. It's not like it ever unlocks a different level. And over the last couple months, actually the last like 4 months, at midnight, it's like the next 6 daily challenges. And I'll be getting ready to go to bed at like 11:30, 11:40. I'll be like, well, maybe I'll stay up till midnight. Or I'll get up, and I'll go to the bathroom at like 4 or 5 in the morning. I'll take my phone with me, and I'll finish one of these levels while I sit there and go peeing because I feel like a little girl sitting down.
And if it's a Sunday at midnight, you're waiting for the next Carnival Personnel podcast to drop.
Dude, that's sad. It is sad, but that is... But finally, like, so I do all these challenges, and it's like... and as soon as you beat one, the next one lists, like they have preset. I guess there was only like 150. And the last 2 were like, have to finish 30 days of daily challenges in a row. It's like, when that challenge came up, I was already 90 days into this. So it's like, I'm like, oh my God, are they making them harder because they're running out of them? And then one of them was like, 10,000 or 10 million meters that your little, Guy Danger had to run. I like to play as Usain Bolt. Like that's one of the add-on characters that you can play. But sadly, I've beaten Temple Run, and
So do you own Temple Run now?
No, it's just on my. Yeah, exactly.
Like the company.
You know, I was the 10 millionth customer, and I got this big, oversized cardboard check. But so that's my sad, pathetic. I was going to say I should get out, but get out. But like tomorrow.
Oh, please! I mean, I'm about to tell you that I beat Jack and Daxter for PlayStation 2 just over the last weekend. Do you know what that is? Of course you don't.
But
Nobody does.
Well, you know what? That's a random review of the week. I'm not going to go get any game.
Aw.
Tell us about Jack and Daxter.
Well, Jack and Daxter was one of those games that I had picked up prior in one of my little
in for
Goodwill
platform?
runs. What's that?
What
PlayStation 2.
It's PlayStation 2.
Yeah, it's their. It was like their first-ish kind of. It was like an early PlayStation 2 game, 3D platformer, like kind of like a Mario 64, but they have hub worlds and you go to different other worlds, and you're this. You're kind of like this young guy, white, of course, obviously, protagonist, and you're in this sort of like magical universe. It's not like it's almost like a pirate themed. I don't know how to explain like the theme. You go to like a lava level, you go to like a beach level. There's a jungle level, snow mountain level, and your objective is to find these power crystals, or I'm blanking on it. But it's a collectathon. It's one of those, you have to collect all the power orbs in order to unlock this stage, and then if you get enough of this, you get, you're an idiot.
Is there side missions, or is it just one story mode?
Yeah. It's like there's a story mode. Like you have to collect a certain amount of power orbs to get to the final boss, but you can take multiple like branching routes, and you don't have to get everything. You don't have to 100% the game. They do keep a track of what, based on all the collectibles you get. If you how much percentage of the game you like Resident Evil.
What percent? Okay, so
I 100% of the game.
You beat me to it. So you got all the trophies.
I had
the unlockables.
I had to go to YouTube, and there was a couple that were just nagging. Like I'm usually like not like one of those. I have YouTube right here. I'm just gonna like blast through this because I got to get back to my life. No, I don't have to get back to my life. But I also like the challenge.
This is your life.
Exactly.
And I'm jealous.
Oh boy, isn't it wonderful? It's but Jack is the main like protagonist, and Daxter is this guy who's kind of like a very annoying but like kind of fat guy who accidentally falls into some sort of like magic potion vat and gets spit out as like a meerkat kind of thing. So he's this talking animal that really doesn't help you. He just sort of like takes all the credit for all the stuff that you're doing. One of those type of things. And your character never talks, And
it's not a wife. Okay, sorry. Okay, all right.
Hey-oh. Shit. There's no hashtag Me Too in this podcast.
So go over the levels again, because you said there's a snow level.
Yep.
And then there's a jungle level.
Yeah, there's a lava
level. And then there's a lava level.
Yeah. Oh, is that Temple Run?
You just mentioned all the levels on my Temple Run. As he's mentioning it, I'm like thinking, oh, Temple Run has a lava
level.
level.
Super Mario 64 like it's like the trope.
So you got all the trophies. You 100%ed it. How much did you pay for this?
$4.
So you got, how many hours of entertainment did you get?
I think it took me like 2 days, maybe.
Yeah. Worth
like
it?
A weekend or so, yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Would you recommend it?
Yeah, it's a fun game. If you like 3D platformers, this is, it's a puzzle solving, there's exploration, there's, it's annoying if you try to get 100%, but that's why YouTube is there.
Can you not? If you were at like 92%, would you have been like, yeah, that was great? Or would you have been in like a cold sweat in the middle of the night, like, tossing and turning, and it's like, the wife is like, no, everything's okay. It's like, no, it's not. Go down your 2 flights of steps to your Nerdseum and Luceum and pop it back in.
Right, and get my daily dose of mesothelioma that I'm getting from the basement down here. It is a fun game. No, there are games that I've like 90-something% and I'd be like, yeah, that's enough. Because I just like, if it's impossible, or if it's one of those things like, even like I see how they did it on YouTube, you have to practice at it for like 10 hours straight to get the moves right. I'll be like, fuck this, I'm not doing it. So I do have some standards, sir. I have to go to the pornography at some point in my time.
So, with that said, moving on from games, great review. Did I ask you how much you paid for it?
$4.
$4, right.
Yes.
Well worth it. Now, did you have time to watch anything? The missus has struggled to persevere getting through Arrow. Highly recommend it.
She's not struggling.
You no
She is.
salmon ladder. Nobody is,
Right.
and I mean nobody. and
No one is immune to the salmon ladder.
and what about? Have you watched anything that you'd be recommending?
What the hell am I watching? Oh, gee. I don't know if I'm really watching anything. No. I should be watching Glow. Like, I've been putting off watching Glow second season.
Oh, it glows out second season.
It's been out for like a month and a half or
Oh,
something.
I suck because
Dude,
I didn't know that.
It should be on your timeline.
It should be on my timeline.
Yeah, Glow's been out.
Mark Maron, by the way, is signed on to be in the Joker. The Joker one-off
movie, yeah.
And it's funny because it's like, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, it's like, Mark Maron is in talks, to be in the Joker movie. And I'm like, I think the talks go something like, yes, Mark, we know you want to be in the movie. Stop calling.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a leap from, Glow to...
Somebody, I remember somebody saying, here's my impersonation of Mark Maron in the Joker movie. It's like... Yeah, so I know that you're the Joker, but like, what's your relationship with your old man?
You gotta be a fan of the podcast.
Yeah, very. And by the way, crushing it on the pod. I don't know if you've been listening lately.
I haven't, but it's funny.
Very good.
Again, my favorite. We're mentioning Al Franken again. My favorite time was when Al Franken was on that, and when Al Franken was like, "Hey, I really had to move my schedule to be here on a Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday to do your podcast." And even Mark Maron's like, "What?" It goes, "Well, that's the name of your podcast, right? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?" Because it's WTF.
With Mark Maron.
And even Mark Maron had to think about that.
Oh, I do know what I'm watching, and it's not a Netflix show. It's a over-the-air cable show.
Whoa.
Better Call Saul season 4. You're not into it. You're not a Breaking Bad guy.
Not at all.
See, I don't know. This is where we part ways.
But
Better Call Saul is back Monday nights on AMC. Some of the finest slow-paced television you'll ever watch. No. I mean, it's great, but it's like Breaking Bad was like there was a point in the storyline where it'd be like a killing a week. Like there would be like drug deals going down, murders happening, accidental killings happening. Disposing of bodies, that sort of thing. Better Call Saul is a prequel, and there is the element of the drug deals going on, but it's more about the Saul character, the Bob Odenkirk, sleazy Saul Goodman character, whose real name is Jimmy McGill, and this is before it became Saul Goodman. But it's more about his family life and how he just sort of like he's just kind of a sociopath, and he's always been grifting his entire life. It flashes back to when he's younger, and he would always he would be nicknamed Slippin' Jimmy because he would always find a way to slip and fall and get a lawsuit out of it. But his brother was a predominant lawyer, he started a law firm with 2 other people, and played by Michael McKean. And spoiler, something happens, and Michael McKean's no longer on the show, but for now. But so season 5 or season 4, whatever the fuck season they're in right now, is now picking up the pieces after Chuck is gone. Sorry, Chuck is gone. I'm sorry, Chuck is Jimmy's characters. Jimmy's brother is Chuck McGill. I'm rambling now. I feel like I'm really out of steam. I think Alex
Better
Jones
Call
needs to-
Saul.
Better Call Saul. You better watch Call Better Saul television. We're losing light.
You need some water? I think next week my pick will be Venture Brothers. You weren't a Venture Brother guy.
Yeah, see, I don't know.
The first season of Venture Brothers.
It's a Johnny Quest show, essentially.
The first season of Venture Brothers, I never remember being more blown away by a show. Like what the fuck is this? There was a window. There was a few-year window where my life was Adult Swim. It was Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It was
Lab 2020.
Frisky Dingo,
Frisky Dingo.
which was a precursor of Archer. And there was Venture Brothers, and there was no close second to Venture Brothers. The first season of Venture Brothers was like a holy, shit type thing, and this was it did. And season 2 was really good. I really liked it. Hasn't been on for maybe 10 years or 6-7 years. It's been off for a while. And it's funny because Patrick Warburton is one of the main characters on it, and he's done a dozen things that I've really loved. Mm-hmm. There's no close second to Venture Brothers. So it just came back on. I still say TiVo. Like I record it. I
At least you're not saying I taped it.
Right. I record it. I said it. So I know there's one episode just came back. I'm gonna wait for there to be like 4 or 5 episodes, and then I'll binge it. But my recommendation this week is an anti-recommendation almost, and I'd like to hear what some people think about it. Batman Ninja. I finally watched him.
Oh, yeah. I think I mentioned this to you a while ago.
It's an Elseworld kind of thing. Like, Batman is in Gotham in real time, and he's closing in on Gorilla Grodd, who had some kind of time port apparatus, and they all got transported to, like, ancient Japan. And it's one of those things where everybody was in the room. Like, some other bad guys were there because Grodd, called people together. And his idea was he was going to send them in the past, be able to take over the future type thing, or this or that. And it just so happened that, Batman was closing in, but he didn't know that all 3 of the, 3 of the 4 Robins were closing in, and the Catwoman was there, and Alfred just happened to be in the neighborhood when the time explosion went, and they all got transported back, but they all got blown back at the same time, but Batman got there 2 years after everybody else. And it's Batman meets the Power Rangers, because all the bad guys have brought technology with them, but new technology, and built these gigantic robots of themselves that at one point all form together to be one gigantic robot.
Just because you know the technology doesn't mean that you have the resources to replicate said technology.
Oh, and it's so... And again, it's like, that's not what the Force is. I mean, right. Is it not my thing? It was made in Japan. It's not in the timeline.
Yeah.
So, it's like an Elseworld thing. I like to think, if somebody likes this, maybe it's just not my thing. And I don't,
it's like Teen Titans Go.
Right.
It's kind of like, it's not canonical, but it's a fun offshoot.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's I'm glad I didn't go to a movie and see it, but I did spend $20 to download it on Apple TV. So you could, if you so chose, watch it. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, we have recently talked about Weezer and Toto. And did I send you the clip, or did you send me the clip?
I think I liked it. You might have just seen it on my Twitter.
Of Weird Al?
Yeah. He
playing Africa with Weezer.
On stage at a concert, yeah. And that they closed the show, apparently, that way. Does
it make you reevaluate whether there is a God or not? Was that like one of your happiest moments?
It was great, yeah. I like when Weird Al collabs with cool people. And man, he's just still, nimble. And I mean, I saw him live not too long ago, but he wasn't doing the shenanigans that he usually does on stage, like dancing around and doing he's double jointed, so he does a lot of waving his legs and arms around in weird positions, and he wasn't doing that when I saw him live. He was just more sitting down on a stool, and but he's still energetic. And then he's up there with the guy from Weezer, just rocking out and just getting down on his knees and playing the accordion and just
rocking out with an accordion. You got to make sure that you paint that picture.
He's rocking out with an accordion, and it can be done by only one person, Al Yankovic.
Agreed. It was great,
and it was a nice and you complain about people who hold up cell phones at concerts when you're at the concert, but thank God for those blessed people.
Thank you. Yes.
And this one had a zoom feature. They were actually zooming in on the action and widening out when they wanted to get the whole band in there. And you know what? I also want to say I am a bigger fan of Weezer's cover of Rosanna than I am of the Africa one.
Do you like the song Rosanna better?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I like Toto. I mean, I think gun to the head, Toto's Africa or Toto's Rosanna. I would take Toto's Africa.
What's your favorite Michael Bolton song?
I gotta say I like them all.
That's my favorite.
I celebrate the man's entire catalog.
You got a parenting tip of the week.
No, I do not have a parenting tip of the week. I was too busy playing video games.
Leave your children in good hands before you buy a $4
Marry
game.
a good spouse that will rear your children correctly when you neglect them. Jacques?
Speaking of rearing children. No.
Oh, my God.
So, Dan and I'm sorry, the great Dan Cray, dancray.net. Last week you said dancray.com.
Oops. That's the jazz musician.
It is the jazz guy.
Oh, fuck.
And I think the name of like Dan's last album is Not the Jazz Guy. I'm dead serious.
I know.
So dancray.net.
Oof.
We're going to be playing a show at Ralph's in Worcester, September 21st. So I went over, and it's funny, like, we don't ever really know what we're going to play. And so we're trying to figure it out. Like, what songs do I remember? The funny thing is, I remember all our songs. If you ask me, though, right now, name 5 things, I can't. But as soon as Dan starts playing, I'll remember a word of every song we haven't played in a decade. But we're putting some stuff together, and it's fun. And then he plays a song that I heard 4 or 5 years ago after Friday Night Hockey was sitting there, and my shuffle just played it. And I remember looking at Scotty Black. I'm like, I will never be able to play that song again. I never did speed, but we used to play crazy fast. And I'm listening to this one song. Listening to the song, my forearms hurt. And Dan started playing it. I got about a minute and a half through it the other day, and I was like, fuck. I didn't think I'd be able to keep up that long. So I'm like, that's it. I've been talking about it forever. I'm going to get a practice set. So I, for $100, bought a set. I got to go get a drum stool and a cymbal this week, but it's in good shape. Here's my parenting tip of the week. I said I was never going to teach the boys to play drums until they got to a certain point with piano. And they're kind of there. You know what I mean? They can read music. And it's not going to go away. But I set the drums up and I'm like, yeah, just let them hit them. It's like, you can't break them. I'm not going to sit down there and show them this or that. If they want to watch something on YouTube, they want me to show them how to count to 4 because that's 90% of drumming. That's great. My parenting tip of the week is just let them figure it out and let them have fun with it. And it's like, because I was upstairs today, and I think it was the littlest one downstairs, and he almost had this one little thing. I'm like, oh, I'm going to, maybe, no, just stay away.
Nothing less cool than your father teaching you how to do something cool.
Right. So I'm like, you know what? If they come and ask, but it's like, it's drums. Let them have, and granted, it's $100. It's like probably the cheapest thing that they will get. By the time they're done playing this little set, I will have paid a penny per hour of use. So, that's my parenting tip. Get a set of drums and let them go to town.
Yeah, that's what every parent wants.
It's fine,
Yeah, just get a soundproof room in the darkest, deepest corner of
the thing
your house.
is, they're never going to play for more than like 5 or 10 minutes before, they're going to move on to something else. Unless they're getting good at it.
Yeah.
And at that case, play all the fucking day.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind Gene Krupa being in the basement wailing away for hours. So that's my parenting tip. And so I always forget to, tell Joe, and sometimes we got on a song. But there was one song, and it's funny. It's like, it's one of my favorite songs. It's one of the only real songs we went to a great studio and did. It's called Rinse and Spit. And I think I emailed it to you so we can play it. And I don't have much else.
I think that's quite enough, sir. We probably won't have a sideshow this week. But
we got some fun ones brewing.
When we do, oh my God, hold on to your iPhones, because man, oh man, the joy you'll be experiencing when you listen to that shit.
While playing Temple Run.
Yes, while playing Temple Run, of course. Or shitting. And that's it. And Jacques, I beg you, do not forget.
Consider this warning, read from friend to friend. The closer that you get, the less sweet I'll seem. I'll never feel secure in my faint arrogance. just beginning. Truth is, if I give myself to you, you'll find that everything I gave was better left behind. If it's good, I'll run away. If it's bad, I'll have to quit. Far, far better off if you just rinse and spit.